The admiration of potential wives. This video is about mind, body, and soul, and certain racial groups who don't accept it, and groups who, the Asians who play stupid about it. Okay? I'll explain. Whites, Jews, and Asians on the highest level of academia certainly agree with me about this, but they will never come out and say it. I'm supposed to be the most desired man in America right now, based on natural attraction. What you might call my theory, which is just logic. It's common sense, really. It's far more, proven than, say, the theory of evolution. So I've refused to call it a theory. It's natural attraction. That's how it is. And so what you're going to see is denial, right? White denial, Jewish denial, Asian denial, and house nigga denial, and every type of denial you can imagine, right? Because, they want you to believe that people who think like them, who live like them, and who are them, are the most desirable people, and they're celebrities, right? I remember when I was younger, there was this one bald white guy from Star Wars, and he was called the sexiest man alive in a magazine, and I used to never agree with the Miss Universes and so on. I'm like, why are people so stupid that there are people who voted for those people? There are people who see it that way, and obviously these magazines sell because at least some of the people buying it are fucking complete morons. It's a given. So let's look at this thing, right? Mind, body, soul. Martial arts is a natural way to show which person has a superior mind, body, and soul. And it's not meant to put people beneath people and humiliate them and dishonor them or to break them down. It's meant to build society up, okay? Martial arts are systems of spiritual, mental, and physical development where you're supposed to accept and respect those who are better than you so that humanity at large can improve. So when you talk about a liberal progressive, a complete hypocrite, feminist, gay, what have you, right? That knows nothing about, true morality or religion or what is sacred, or else they wouldn't be doing their twist of religion, right? For the most part. Okay, what is really human progress? Human progress is when somebody who is naturally superior is able to impress his superior belief system, his insights, and his moral code upon people. Okay, that is progress. We have a cycle of the most righteous men with superior perception and insight, divine insight, you might say, with superior souls who have forged a superior body of precision and intensity and focus among a whole bunch of other transferable skills that have to do with the mind, body, soul connection. Okay? This is your superior guy. This is the guy who's meant to rule society. He's meant to rule society until somebody is better or he dies. Okay? That was the idea behind the original warrior systems of martial arts. What happened was Narmer, became the pharaoh. And so, of both lands, not just one, right? The Scorpion King. So any warrior cultures of martial arts cultures that existed outside of empirical scrutiny, imperialist scrutiny, were dissolved for the most part. So that idea has been lost. However, it exists on some level in every martial arts system, even in places like Japan where they have a strong caste system. Now think about this, right? There's a degree system in Japanese karate, and there's a pecking order in the samurai society, the Bushido society, if you will, right? The Shintos and them, right? If you think about this thing, it's part of the social order of society, and who are some of the most successful people, right? The Yakuza, and on some level, some of them at least believe that there's this mind-body-soul connection. At least some of them take it to a dark place if you take their artwork and, their interviews, literally, right? Or in a way that you would expect that they would mean it, right? At least. But more likely, you can just take what I say as the truth. So when you look at this thing, right, why am I not giving my credit? Because the ruling class is white and Jewish, and because, Asians, I love Asians, I love Asian women, with all due respect, they don't want to admit that black people have a superior body for war, for martial arts, okay? And let's face it, no non-black race wants to admit that black people are the most likely candidate for a superior mind, body, and soul. For example, Hitler said, "Oh, they're like animals," right? He didn't even consider the possibility that there's a mind, body, soul connection, and that's why other races ended up outside of Africa, and blacks stayed inside of Africa. It's for it's the old king of the jungle, the old alpha male. If there's an alpha male when it comes to races, who do you think it is? Of course it's black people. Alpha males don't need technology to dominate people. Alpha males are naturally the alpha male. It is the black race, and that's because of a superior mind, body, and soul, with all racism aside. I mean, think about it. What other logical conclusion can one come to as to why I'm denied my rightful place? And when you consider how I'm able to make this argument in the first place, right? I have this African body that is fucking God's gift to warfare, to natural warfare, to the human race, right? And I have this powerful, son of two doctors, genius IQ mind. And I have this intense soul that you can tell from my moral code, right? The soul and the mind are in tune, because there's a strong moral code that I preach every day. And the body is superior and must be in tune with the mind and soul as well, because these people not only cannot beat me, they do not even want to try in the first place. And they are making excuses that disgrace their own races and martial arts systems, and make you wonder, how can somebody who comes from a culture of sparring, where sparring is central, according to their own masters, for example, the Koreans, and I'm not, only reason I'm bringing them up is because I have the book with one of them saying that, right? That you need an emphasis on sparring. But for example, how can any culture, that has sparring, which is every culture, turn around and say, hey, this doesn't mean anything. That's like saying we're a bunch of dumbasses, and our ancestors were morons who sparred for years and years for no reason, for fucking thousands of years for no reason. I mean, their argument insults themselves and your common sense, your intelligence, right? It's like, you're a fucking idiot. Yes, sparring does show the superior mind, body, and soul, you fucking moron. This is central to every martial arts fucking theory that ever was. Sit down and shut the fuck up. Anything after that is some rich white person's corporate shell preaching some UFC bullshit. Sit down and shut the fuck up. Because the people who are doing this are white and Jewish, and I'm not racist, I'm going to put it in a way you can understand. Their Western philosophy, their mainstream Western philosophy that is basically corporate controlled for fucking decades, mainstream Western philosophy, if you get my drift. Now, more like for hundreds of years, depending on how you define a corporation and what connections you make to old money and what have you. So, what does it mean for you? One day I'm going to be dead. I'm going to be dead. And in the future, anyone who has a philosophy that is similar to a morally upright African martial artist is going to be denied their rightful place, okay? Based on how similar it is. That is with very few exceptions. And anyone who, has conformed to Babylonian philosophy or Western philosophy, or you might call it ruling class trickery and their illusions and the philosophy that they have derived from that nonsense, is going to have it easier. Okay? Now, it is sad that you can slice it like that one race has accepted stupidity to such a degree that they have separated themselves completely from the truth and say, look, The truth is like that black person. Think about this on many levels, mind, body, and soul. The truth is black people. They were the original people, right? The image, the body, the image, the mind, the image, the soul, the image of God, right? And I'm not saying blacks are superior, okay? I'm saying, let me give you an example. You know, the lion is not necessarily superior um, to the bird or even to the leopard. However, one can make the argument that it is the king, and that argument is often made. When it comes to races, the black people are the lions. They are the kings of the jungle. They are naturally the ones who win in combat, and one could say it is structured for them to rule. So when one group of people is given dominion over the earth, black people specifically, okay, I know you're not going to like this, but black people specifically were given dominion over the earth, okay, the image of God. And every person came from there. Okay, so what happened? Well, according to the Bible, history, everything's in agreement. Bad people gradually started gaining more and more control over the earth using trickery and deceit. Just like in the Bible, where the natural order time and time again is destroyed, is disturbed, right? That, the case of the flood, right? The fallen angels, the Nephilim, that was the natural order being destroyed based on reproduction and evil people or people who are not supposed to reproduce with the most attractive women, right? They saw that these women were attractive. They weren't going for some fat heifer. These guys came for the attractive women. So it's the same thing that the satanic elite are doing. They're destroying and disturbing the natural order. They're going for the attractive women. So then there's the flood. Okay, the flood wasn't enough, so God decides to step it up, right? Or he knew it wasn't going to be enough, and he wanted all of us to see. For whatever reason, he decides to end the world, when Jesus comes back and cause a much worse, much more violent disaster. And, create the New Jerusalem, which is what? A natural order that is confirmed because Jesus comes down and says, look, I am going to fucking get it through your head that there's a natural order and I am at the top of it. Okay? Before Abraham, I am. I say this to all non-black races. Before non-blacks, blacks were. So blacks could say, before you, I am, as their argument of natural superiority. And from a Christian perspective, you would have to accept it. Unless you are a European who's a racist, who's going to try to find any reason they can to avoid the facts. So when you look at it, mind, body, and soul, it's impossible to be spiritual and honest and not admit the supremacy of the black man. It is impossible. Because when you look at nature and you look at the world, you look at history, you look at spirituality, you look at which races are doing what and why, what is their culture and why, it is impossible not to say, hey, black people are the most righteous people, generally speaking, and there are certain tribes or groupings of black people that should be in charge of the world because of their adherence to sacred morality and their superior mind, body, and soul connection. It is impossible to be spiritual and honest and not come to that conclusion. Okay? And what's going to stop them? Racial pride, right? They're going to say, well, just because you're black doesn't mean you're more spiritual than me. The same thing I get from these morons, right? Who can't even accept my challenge. We put it in a very straightforward way. Mind, body, soul, supremacy. And they say, well, that doesn't mean anything, right? They're trying to avoid the argument that they can't avoid. And they expect you to roll with it and to pretend like they're right. It's like, don't you see? What Chukwuemeka is talking about is at the core of every religion. Martial arts warfare, spirituality, and the idea that God sides with righteous men in natural combat. That is central. Okay? God or spirituality. Let's look at Buddhism, right? If you have good karma and you're a good person, the idea, if you look at Buddhism and Kung Fu and where they overlap and what it means, right? It's saying that it's the same idea as what I'm saying. Righteous indignation creates a superior warrior. a superior moral code, a superior focus, a superior understanding, a superior set of transferable skills, a superior mind, body, and soul having been cultivated. You know, you're not born with these things perfectly intact, but having cultivated and refined a superior mind, body, and soul. Now, here's my final argument. All you other races, sit down. What metal does the samurai use? What material? Does he use wood, stone, or the appropriate metal? Therefore, some material is superior when it comes to refining or forging martial arts weapons. And the body, the mind, body, and soul together are a martial arts weapon. I'll be the first to admit that I can't sing, but for the love of money. All right, so why do rich people not go to heaven for the most part, usually? Well, they love their money, right? And they don't have real love. Rich people don't go to heaven because their life is a lie. They live in this world, right? And they attract women who don't love them, who love their money too. They have a shared love of money and exploiting people to make yourself look good. That guilty little pleasure. They share that for the most part. For this, the amount of people that Jesus would have referred to as, the small group of people who are rich and are still going to make it to heaven, is the same amount of people who are rich that actually have love. Okay? We say money can't buy love. Money actually, pushes love away. It buys fakeness. It buys a superficial relationship with an attractive woman, So how can a pharaoh, once he's achieved his glory, I ask all you attractive women out there who say, well, if you want a good woman, you need to be able to take care of her and blah, blah, blah. So how does a pharaoh ensure that he has a woman who actually loves him, who's worthy, if he's already at his peak? No, he can only find love, like anyone else, on his way up. Or it's an arranged marriage or a group of privileged people who already, have lived such a luxurious life, that they don't necessarily, the woman might actually love him because she's not there for the money. She already has the money and the power. You see what I'm saying? Like a queen of another nation or something, right? So for those of you socialists and all this, you're faced with this very dire, obstacle that forces you to see it my way, or to just keep playing stupid and living a lie and trying to play it off, right? Which is, the only way to truly have equality is to destroy a gold digger's mentality, to destroy it. So how then do the humanists, feminists, for example, reconcile that? How then do people who don't see it my way reconcile that with their philosophy? They can't. Their philosophy feeds into gold digging. For example, white perspectives of Christianity, mainstream white attitudes about being a Christian. They're capitalists first, they're Christians second. Mainstream white attitudes toward mind, body, and soul. Americans are obese. They are a bunch of drugged down, beer guzzling, and I love beer, I love weed. Pothead, cokehead motherfuckers, that, aren't very focused. They're suggestible. They're unfocused. They're do-do-do-do-do, for the most part. And they're shallow. So we don't value mind, body, and soul in this culture as a result of Western culture, which is the governing culture. That makes a mistake. There's a cultural imperialist government. Cultural imperialist governing culture. Of course, a cultural imperialist government as well. But, forcing you to adhere to their misconceptions and false preconceptions and assertions and theories and pseudoscientific thought, using psychiatry and drugs and propaganda and even women, especially women, to make you conform. How many people are pussy whipped? If men are pussy whipped, well, what do you use? You use the bitch. So what is the answer? The New World Order is using the feminist bitch to control the pussy whipped cowards through their friends or by themselves, you know. So what's the answer? The answer is to man the fuck up and put these bitches back in their fucking places. You understand me? To reinforce family values, you know. What you see right now is a struggle between a few good men and the masses of, you know, pussy whipped, you know, coochie breath, you know, on their knees groveling, honey, okay, I'll sleep on the couch like a bitch, you know, when his wife doesn't get her way, you know, type of cowards, you know. That's not the natural order. That's not healthy for anyone. It's not healthy for a young man to grow up and see an emasculated, effeminate coward in his household, whether it's his father or his brother. That's not good. And it's horrible if it's his father. It's not good for society to reproduce with geeks who have no heart. Okay, you know why geeks are helping the New World Order? Because they're not martial artists, they're pussies. Okay, your man is a fucking coward. He doesn't have the heart, the moral will to do the right thing. And who does, generally speaking? Martial artists. Who has the insight, the moral will, the depth of spirituality, and the fucking physical prowess not to fear other men. It is the martial artists. Everyone else is a bitch. We're meant to rule you. Wake the fuck up, you sniveling little geeks. How long will the multicultural society suffer before they admit that the only things we have in common are African? Those are the things that unite us. We need an African martial artist to lead society at all times. That is the divine order of humanity. That is what God has meant for us. A natural order. Not technology, not illusion, not sniveling geeks. How long will we have to suffer in debt and misery? You know, being forced to be subservient to the New World Order. How long will our women suck their dicks as their secretaries, glad that they get to suck a shriveled dick because they have a nice job with nice benefits? How long will we suffer mentally, spiritually, physically before we accept the irrefutable fact that people like Chukwuemeka have a superior mind, body, and soul and are meant to lead, and they have been snaked and cheated by sniveling geeks? Jacob Rothschild-looking geeks, evil Kissinger-looking geeks, sniveling Zabriskie and evil demonic Soros-looking geeks. If you want a multicultural society, then the black man must rule. That is the natural order, the black man. If you want it to be from a Christian perspective, then every person, a man should rule over every land and every one of his people. Okay? You all have shown yourself incapable of leading humanity. The only time we had anything near where, you know, how it should be was in Egypt when black people have ruled. Your empires were disgraces. You people are unscrupulous, indignant, indecorous knaves. Okay? You have proven yourselves to be incapable as a race, as races, and as your cultures, your philosophies, okay? This Masonic idea of the geek is more important than the warrior. Destroy the Templar, replace him with the geeky scientist, architect kind of nerd. You know? This idea has failed miserably. We have the biggest incarcerated population because of your philosophy, you sniveling, unscrupulous geeks. We have an appalling rape rate because of your sniveling philosophies. Men are suffering. Their intimacy needs are not being met because you teach women to like geeks with money like you. So a lot of real passionate and real horny men are not getting what they would get otherwise. And on some level, they get that. And on that same level, they justify it to themselves, right or wrong, cause and effect. You sniveling geeks have failed in every aspect of life because you're not martial artists, you're pussies. And those of you who are would have killed the other ones if you had any honor and you would have taken over. But no, you're sniveling cowards who aren't true martial artists. I am Chukwuemeka, one of the few true martial artists in America, and I was meant to rule over all of you motherfuckers. Thanks to a bunch of sniveling geeks who are increasing homosexuality, pedophilia every day in this country. Thanks to a bunch of sniveling geeks who are increasing the debt, the suffering, and the human cost for their insufficient philosophies. Thanks to these ignorant, closed-minded, out-of-touch, pretentious, pompous, less than worthy, inhuman, sniveling rats. We are all suffering miserably, and they will never, ever concede my point because they are too cowardly. That is why you need a brave man with high moral value, with a strong African philosophy. And why would you want a second-rate version of it? You want it from the black man. Now, I know it seems harsh. It's going to hurt feelings, but it's truly what I believe. I believe America needs a figurehead type of person who actually has a certain amount of power, similar to Queen Elizabeth, with more widely acknowledged powers that are relative in politics. And this person, I believe, should be black every year for the same reason the Pope for a long time has been white. The royal family of the UK, depending on who you ask, has been white. I heard the black nobility and the Italians and everything. But, anyway, I've heard a lot of theories, but we'll just simplify and say, yes, they've been white for a long time, okay? At least white looking. Anyway, so I think America needs a figurehead that is black, that is the king, the pharaoh of America, okay? And not from the same family, it switches. And it's based purely on morality. And I think that it only should be given to somebody who is poor, okay? Somebody who lives poor, works at a shelter or does a kind of noble job that is overlooked, okay? And because of their morality and their humble life, that they've been selected, this will be symbolic of African culture is where we all come from. Black is where all colors come from. Black people were the most stigmatized people, okay? And that should always remind us why it is wrong to stigmatize one people more than everyone else, unfairly especially. And, the price the society needs to pay to try to make it right. I know a lot of you don't like this idea, but when you think about it, it is the type of reminder that we all need. We have denied black people their rightful place because of their mind, body, and soul, and their propensity to use their resources to have a lot of influence over the world. What one might argue an inordinate influence over the world, okay? Instead, we have whites and Jews and anyone else who, have sucked the resources from Africa and have an inordinate influence over the world. Why aren't Africans living like Saudi Arabian, princes and sheiks and whatnot, right? Because we get done so bad and stigmatized, Ask, the average gold digger, if she was to pick somebody randomly, would she rather pick someone from Saudi Arabia? And I have nothing against these people. Or somebody from Nigeria. She'll probably say, you know what? Saudi Arabia, that's a no-brainer. He might be a rich sheik or something, So you have the most stigmatized race. Now, I don't believe that black people are the only ones capable of being good leaders. But listen carefully. Because of Western culture, I believe most whites and Jews are not capable in their current state of mind or in their current states of mind, because there's more than one, but they all have to do with their philosophy. They're all kind of relevant and relative to their philosophy. For example, if they're angry, it's because of how they think, right? What they believe, their belief system, their false beliefs, okay? Because of their false beliefs and their excessive materialism and their culture of self-indulgence and narcissism, I do not believe at this point that very many whites and Jews, some of them, yes, there's always exceptions. I do not believe very many of them will make good leaders. In fact, I do not believe very many people in general. But certain people have cultures that just produce utter trash, and I think we all know that. Generational Satanists, generational feminists and atheists, just producing more trash, breaking down the family, breaking down morality, just scum. And they all know it. That's why these people team up with drug cartels and gang members in liberal parties. Why? Because these are criminals that break down society. Some of them are cooler than others. Some of them are more likable. Hey, you know, I might smoke a blunt with a gangster after this, you know, but it's not going to change the fact that these people break down society and they cause chaos. And how you cause chaos is you break down the family, you break down morality, and you attack the pharaoh and try to usurp him, have a coup d'etat, you know, an insurrection, you know, a rebellion against the natural order is Satanism. Okay? So what you saw in a lot of the Age of Enlightenment was using real issues. This is what feminists do, this is what gays do, this is what almost all pretty much all crooked politicians do. Use real issues and change real things to bring in a satanic agenda. That is what Satanism is, what Satan did. He said, I'm going to use the fact that they're slaves and women feel shunned and, you know, what have you, and whatever problems might result, you know, come as a result of a... Okay, so the race debate about Egypt has to do with the foundations of Egypt. And this is the thing that the whites avoid the most in the race debate, right? They'll talk about hair and, you know, King Tut's quote-unquote leaked DNA, leaked by Eurocentrics from, you know, the UK, you know, and magically, you know, who were they related to, right? Who was he related to? Absolute nonsense. Anyway, it has to do with mind, body, and soul and who the perfect man was. Because they know that the principles of the ancient world, okay, the universal principles of the ancient world that are pervasive in every culture that had contact with each other, of mind, body, and soul, you know, was expressed through, you know, being a warrior pharaoh and being a great king, okay? There was a competition in the ancient world between great men. One could look at it like this. Some people kind of became kings because of merit, and some people became kings because of, you know, bloodline, and some people became kings because of both. And so they were trying to show who's the ideal person. And obviously this culminated in Egypt being united by the person who would be perceived by occultists and people who are spiritual and religious as the perfect person all the way until the time of Christ, because the Jews were just one group of people that most people didn't agree with. So that was the general attitude of the ancient world, if you get my drift, and I actually do agree with them about this. Now, if that first pharaoh was white, then the ideal man in the eyes of the spiritualists, or those who are spiritual, those who are religious, and those who are occultists, 99% of the time will be this white pharaoh. He really embodies everything, right? So what race, what person in history and what race embodies the ideal man? And how should we plan society to try to make people more like him? Okay? So the Western perspective is, you know, it's a very materialistic perspective. They downplay the warrior roles. They downplay the African philosophy. They deny the linguistic and etymological and anthropological evidence, and on, okay? They fabricate evidence. They go to the distance to try to win that argument because it has dramatic implications and it dramatically influences and determines our culture, you know, and our culture dramatically determines who's going to be successful and who's not, and what kind of people are going to thrive and what kind of people are being screened out, if you get my drift. So when I started with the race debate on Egypt, Illuminati Part 1, 2009, I was already touching on mind, body, and soul, eugenics, psychology, propaganda, you know, the Great Conspiracy, and so on. You see what I mean? So the eugenicists who control society, who are in secret societies, who are atheistic Satanists from the scientific community and the rich people that fund them, you know, immediately started sabotaging my life even more when they were already lightweight doing it when I used to discuss these things in Yahoo chat and with my friends on the streets in San Jose in Northern California. Thank you. Okay, so now the insightful man will have already connected this. Well, who is the modern day Narmer? Narmer used nature, natural philosophy, African philosophy, and martial arts to unite the lands and the martial artists within it and to win them over into his army. using force, judgment, and proving himself to be a superior mind. The old "you better not." Kind of the same way Moses felt when he left Egypt. You know, the Pharaoh kept the Jews there by saying, what? You better not. It's like, look, you know, we will kill you. We are the most effective fighting force in the ancient world. You know, we are mixed peoples and peoples from different groups who are practicing the most dangerous martial art in the ancient world and arguably today. Mantu arts, Egyptian war arts, okay? There's no way that you are going to survive by fighting with us. You have to flee, and you have to make the sea collapse on us, or we are going to fucking kill you. Okay? We're not little cute little Jews. We are Egyptian Mantu warriors. We will fucking kill you. Your slingshot won't save you this time. We are not the Hittites, motherfucker. We are the guys who have owned you for 400 motherfucking years. Are we clear? Okay? And it took Mantu war arts to unite the empire. Nothing else. So yes, I am the modern Narmer. I am the top martial artist. I'm the only one who can naturally unite the lands. And when you people betray me and don't stand with me, remember, I could have united this whole motherfucker. But you bitches shun me. You blacks refuse to accept me. And you let these devils, these Jews, these Asians, and everyone else deny me my rightful place. And that is why you suffer. You must stay in accord with the natural order. And naturally, I am all of your superiors. I am Big Brother's big brother, naturally. Naturally, I am the dapper fucking Pharaoh I was meant to be in charge. And because of your devil technology, your Babylonian culture, and your blasphemous, obese way of thinking, you've convinced yourself that a warrior who could outmaneuver and slice Bruce Lee down in a fraction of a second couldn't do the same to a fat fuck or a mini-me bitch. Show me one of them that can do 30 hits in 1.2 seconds from their trapping range. Show me. No cheating, no fast-forwarding. Show me. They don't exist. My counterpart in any other race does not exist. There is no other Chukwuemeka, not even amongst the blacks. I am the fucking dapper Pharaoh. Shame on every bitch for not having the judgment to appreciate me when it doesn't take a fucking top martial artist, brain surgeon son to see what the fuck I'm saying.